Hi, my name's Kenzie Lambert, and these are the 5 quotes that I've found significant when trying to understand Chapter 4 of Engaging with the Christian Scriptures. The first quote is, "Attending to how a poem constructs meaning is an astute strategy for the interpreter." So in understanding this quote, it is important for us to break down all of the poetic structures that we find in the poem. It's important for us to look at all of the things that we learn about in English class. It's important for us to look at personification and assonance and metaphors and similes and how the poem is broken up in different lines, where the breaks in the sentences are. All of this is important in understanding what the writer was trying to get across to the first reader, which is exactly what we are trying to find out when we are reading passages in the scriptures. The second quote is, "The poetry is at times deceptively simple." So even though we're trying to look at all of these different poetic devices, we're trying to look at all of these things that in turn make it more complicated, that easily make it much harder for us to understand. When we're trying to look at all of these devices, we're trying to break down every single word and see exactly what the author was trying to say. Sometimes that can make it much harder on us and much more difficult to get a true meaning and a meaning that is more meaningful to our life here in this moment. But sometimes we just need to sit back and read the scripture and let the scripture speak to us and tell us what we're supposed to hear from it. The third is, "The background of terminology and context will be helpful to interpreters of the wisdom books, though the exact understanding of wisdom in the Hebrew scriptures has been something of an enigma." Now, I found this also very important because it is important that we're trying to bring in what is happening in history, who it's happening to, where it's at, the beliefs that these people have, and everything that's going on in their lives, in order for us to really understand what's going on in the books, for us to understand the full meaning of what's happening to the people, what's going on through them, and how they're feeling. And that's going to help us get an understanding of the word wisdom, which is really something of a mystery, as it says about an enigma. "The sayings of the sages provide education for full living, but not an explanation of all of life's challenges." So this is also very important as we're listening to these wise people, as we're reading what these wise people, the sages, are trying to tell us in these books. It's going to help us to be able to live a better, more full life, a life that's more pleasing to God. But that's not always meaning that we're going to get all the explanations. We're not always going to know why something happens or why this happens to me. Why is this so difficult? That's not what we're trying to get out of these books, and that's what they're trying to get across to us, is that living right, it doesn't always mean you're going to understand everything that God does. And finally, "While wisdom is better than folly, even it does not answer the riddles of life." And so a big topic in these wisdom books and throughout this section is wisdom. We're talking about wisdom. We're learning about wisdom. And yes, wisdom is much better than foolishness. We all need to be wise and not foolish, and that's a big part of these books. But even in doing that, we have to understand that that's not going to solve all the problems. That's not going to make us understand why something is happening. But instead, the wisdom is going to enable us to have trust in God and to trust God and know that what He is doing is for our good. Thank you.